Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different, kind of a micro mission.
Right. Instead of a huge global thing, we're zooming in.
Exactly. We're focusing on just one source document, but it's pretty extraordinary. It's the professional history, multi-page, of Captain Robert Lee Varner, USMC retired.
And we're not just, reading a resume here. It's more like we're trying to dissect a blueprint.
Yeah, a blueprint for a life.
Yeah.
Our goal is to pull out the narrative, the strategy behind this incredibly ambitious career. It spans, well, everything. Military, finance, politics.
It really does. This document, it stretches from 1950, basically, right up to now. And the striking part is how he stacked achievements, often simultaneously, across these different fields.
High-level military service, advanced degrees, running companies, deep political work.
Yeah. So the mission for us is to figure out the key moves, the transitions, and maybe the constant goals that let him pivot and synthesize all of this.
And the real hook, I think, the thing that makes this so fascinating if you're interested in, strategic career building. It's the stated path. The story starts in 1950. Private first class, Marine Corps.
Right at the bottom rung, essentially.
And the ultimate future goal, the big one stated later, seeking an appointment to the Federal Reserve Board.
Wow. Okay. That's not just changing jobs. That's a systematic climb towards serious policy influence.
Exactly. So let's start at the beginning, the foundation. Right, let's dive into those 25 years in the Marine Corps, because what jumps out right away is the speed and maybe the method of his advancement.
Well, absolutely. It wasn't just putting in time. This was clearly an organizational masterclass in itself.
How so?
Well, look at the path. On the enlisted side alone, he goes from E1, private first class, all the way up the ladder, to E9, master gunnery sergeant.
That was between 1950 and 1969.
Correct. Now, for anyone listening who maybe doesn't know the Corps structure, E9, master gunny, that's the absolute peak for enlisted personnel, the most senior leadership role you can hold there.
Getting there in under 2 decades seems fast.
It's highly unusual, shows incredible drive and competence. But that wasn't the end of the climb.
No, because then he transitions. He becomes an officer.
Right. Commissioned, goes from second lieutenant up to captain between 1969 and 1972.
So mastering both tracks, reaching the top enlisted rank, and getting commissioned as an officer, that dual understanding must have given him incredible insight into the institution itself.
Exactly. And the resume makes it clear this wasn't just about timing or luck. It was performance-based, explicitly.
Like what?
Well, there's a meritorious promotion to staff sergeant while he was serving in Korea. That's a big deal.
Okay.
And crucially, that jump to officer. It says it was a special selection to second lieutenant while still on duty, specifically for outstanding performance.
So the Corps itself recognized something exceptional and pulled him up.
They did. And here's another piece that's strategically interesting.
Go on.
The document notes a special selection to limited duty officer LDO. He ranked number 28 out of 2,400 candidates.
28 out of 2,400.
Yes. That level of competitive success, it suggests huge potential for even further advancement within the military structure.
Which makes you ask, why leave? If you're clearly excelling, why pivot away from that path?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But maybe the skills he honed there, think about it. Organization, resource management under extreme pressure, leading large teams in hostile places.
Those are directly transferable skills.
Precisely. They're not just war stories. They're foundational training for executive leadership. Maybe he saw that as the real takeaway for his next phase.
And the actual combat and service record backs up the performance aspect. It mentions consideration for the Bronze Star in Vietnam, 66 to 68.
Right. And the full list of medals paints a picture of sustained, high-level operational commitment.
What else is listed?
Let's see. 2 National Defense Service Medals, 3 Korean Service Medals, 3 Vietnamese Service Medals, the Combat Action Ribbon, and 6 Good Conduct Medals.
6. What does that signify?
Well, each Good Conduct Medal typically covers 3 years of service. So 6 implies something like 18 straight years of exemplary discipline and ethical conduct as an enlisted Marine before becoming an officer.
Wow. Okay. So this isn't just flashes of brilliance in combat. It's decades of sustained operational rigor.
Exactly. And you could argue that's the perfect bedrock for moving into something like high-stakes finance.
So 1975, he retires from the Corps, decorated, successful, but he doesn't slow down. Not at all.
No, he executes this immediate, almost startling pivot right into finance.
Which is a totally different world. So how did he build that new foundation? It requires a whole different knowledge base.
He did it very intentionally through targeted education. The resume lists degrees from San Diego City College, University of Northern Colorado.
Okay.
But the really key ones for this transition seem to be the Bachelor of Business Administration, the BBA, and the Master of Business Administration, the MBA, both from National University in San Diego.
So getting the specific credentials needed for the finance world.
Yes, these weren't just general studies. They look like tools acquired specifically to make that career change possible and maybe make it happen fast.
But wait a second. He was a decorated captain, probably used to significant command authority. Then he enters an MBA management training program at Bank of America. Doesn't that sound like, well, a step back in status?
That's a really sharp observation, and maybe that's the critical point. It probably wasn't about status, it was about strategy.
How do you mean?
It looks like a strategic entry point. Use the MBA to get inside a major financial institution, learn the ropes from the ground up, but with his background.
He wouldn't stay at the entry level for long.
Exactly. That Marine Corps discipline, the organizational skills, managing complex systems, you can imagine Bank of America seeing huge value in that for things like commercial loans, risk assessment.
And the resume shows he moved up quickly there. To commercial loan officer, financial services officer.
Correct. And then, not long after that, he becomes vice president at Pacific Coast Bank. That's VP of Business Development and Public Relations, from 75 to 79.
Okay, so that quick rise validates the idea that those military leadership skills were highly transferable.
I think it does. And then we see him move into even higher executive roles later on.
Such as?
Chief Financial Officer, CFO, for a company called Meistis Precision Metals. And then Chief Executive Officer, CEO for Pacific Coast Executive Management Incorporated, and also the Community Business Center starting in '88.
So reaching the C-suite.
Definitely. But what's really fascinating, I think, is the type of knowledge he specifically focused on acquiring alongside these roles. It wasn't just general management.
You mean the list of special courses?
Yes, look at what's listed. It's very specific. Basic credit administration, financial statement analysis, commercial loans to businesses, real estate loan management, bank management.
Huh. That reads like a curriculum designed for one purpose.
Exactly. It's practically a roadmap to becoming a senior banking executive. He's mastering the absolute core mechanics, lending, risk, bank operations.
The precise functional expertise you'd need to run a bank.
Or, importantly, to have credible input on economic policy, which ties into the bigger goal.
Right. The resume explicitly states his career goals, an immediate goal and a future one.
Yes. Immediate goal. Senior lending officer or credit officer, moving up to CEO of a local independent bank.
Which, based on his roles as CFO and CEO, you could say he achieved or was well on his way to achieving?
Seems like it. But then there's the future goal, the really ambitious one.
Which was?
Getting a PhD in either executive management or political science, and ultimately seeking that appointment to the Federal Reserve Board.
Okay. That final step, the Fed, that requires more than just business success. That requires real institutional influence, political capital.
Precisely. And that leads us directly into the third major pillar of his strategy.
Which brings us to this third phase, building that institutional capital needed for something as high level as a Federal Reserve Board appointment. Like you said, being a successful CEO, even a brilliant one, usually isn't enough on its own.
No, you need demonstrated engagement, influence across different spheres. And if we're thinking about this as the Varner strategy, this is where he seems to be applying those organizational skills learned in the military and honed in finance, but now across business, civic, and political arenas. It's like building a pyramid of influence.
It demonstrates not just competence, but political awareness and maybe viability.
Right. Let's look at some of the specific roles listed, especially the government and advisory ones.
Okay, what stands out?
Well, he was a mayor's appointee and chairman for the San Diego Community Relations Board. That's direct civic involvement at the city level.
And chairman of the 31st Congressional District Military Academy Selection Committee. That makes perfect sense, leveraging his Marine background.
Exactly. It keeps his military expertise relevant in a civic context. Then there's his role as a member of the California Rehabilitation Appeals Board, listed as both past and current.
Serving on boards like that, what does that signal?
It signals commitment to public policy processes, judicial oversight maybe. It shows he can operate within government structures, which is kind of essential for a potential Fed role.
And there's evidence this work was noticed, right? Awards.
Yes, definitely. He received the San Diego County Human Relations Award, and a Los Angeles County Special Commendation for Outstanding Service, specifically for his work with the Employment and Training Program.
So building that civic credibility, maybe balancing the profile of a finance executive.
Could be. Now let's touch on the political infrastructure piece, being careful just to report what's listed neutrally.
Understood. What affiliations are mentioned?
Okay, he served as executive vice president for the National Association of Black Military Officers, another link bridging his military past and civic engagement.
And then specific political party involvement.
Yes, listed as a member of the Presidential Republican Task Force and the National Republican Senatorial Committee. So operating at the national level of party organization.
And it seems that engagement went down to the state and local level, too.
It does. Membership in the California Republican Central Committee and the San Diego County one as well, that's getting involved in the actual machinery of the party.
The resume also lists affiliations like the Black American Political Association of California BAPAC and the California Black Republican Council.
Right. And looking at that combination of affiliations is key from a strategic perspective.
How so?
Well, holding advisory roles, plus specific party committee memberships, plus engagement with groups like BPAC. It suggests a deliberate strategy to perhaps build bridges or maintain relevance across different networks within the broader political landscape.
Networks that might be essential if you're seeking consideration for a major presidential appointment.
Exactly. And just the sheer volume of simultaneous committee work, while also presumably running businesses, it really points back to that incredible organizational skill set. Makes you wonder how he managed the time.
So let's try to synthesize this. What does it all add up to? We've traced this arc.
It really feels like we've defined what we called the Varner Strategy, 3 distinct but connected phases.
Phase 1, operational mastery, learning structure, discipline, leadership under pressure in the Marine Corps.
Right. Phase 2, functional expertise. Deliberately acquiring the specific knowledge, the nuts and bolts of high finance, and proving he could lead in that world, reaching CEO level.
And Phase 3, institutional access. Systematically engaging with civic groups, government boards, and political organizations to build the necessary network and credibility for top-tier influence.
Yeah, it's not just a list of jobs. It's a continuous, highly strategic campaign. From enlisted Marine to aiming for the Federal Reserve.
The whole resume reads like a masterclass in leveraged advancement.
Yeah.
Using success in one area to propel yourself into the next, more complex one.
Absolutely. It shows someone who used military structure to inform business efficiency, who intentionally got the right financial knowledge for executive power.
And then used all that success and knowledge to engage methodically with every political and civic institution he seemed to need for that ultimate policy goal.
It's quite the blueprint.
It really is. So considering this depth of experience, we've outlined the Marine Corps discipline, the complex financial mastery, the systematic political organizing. Captain Varner's documented path offers a pretty powerful model.
A demanding one, too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the question we want to leave you, the listener, with is this. How does this strategy, this multi-pronged approach to mastering institutions, military, corporate, political, how does that inform your own thinking about achieving high-level executive goals or policy influence?
Something to think about.
Indeed. That's our deep dive for today. We'll catch you next time.